episode is all about, what do general managers care about? What do the CEOs care about, right? Reducing overhead costs, increasing sales. And, how do they make sense and deploy technology that improves their business, right? That's really kind of what we want to talk about today. And so we have industry experts that are hands-on in the business for many, many years.
This is Franklin from Opex Consulting Group. Opex Consulting Group basically is an end-to-end digital transformation service and solution provider. So basically what we do is that we have the consulting arm helping customers addressing the people and the business process. We also have the technology solutions, and I've got ERP as our partner, one of the solutions that we offer.
I'm Lorraine of Epicor Software in Singapore. So Epicor is a business software solution provider. Today we do more than ERP. We do a lot of industry-specific software, particularly manufacturing and engineering.
So, Lorraine, when you're approaching different factories, different folks in the industry, what are some of the common pain points that you're trying to address with the Epicor technology?
Well, it really is all the challenges that manufacturers face. So it could be in Singapore, it's a lot about employees, upskilling. It's all, of course, and with manufacturers, it's all about cost efficiency as well, production efficiency. Am I going to be able to deliver on time to my customers? And that brings about that whole supply chain challenges as well.
So is it pretty much like a lot of these factories, they're hesitant to spend the money on the technology. They don't have the time to even think about it. It's just sales. Is that?
It's been better now, I think. Frankly, we're tested it as well. I think Singapore, and especially this part of the world, right? Singapore has put a lot of effort to encouraging manufacturers to do that. But of course, you will still get those who thinks that technology investment can wait. So let's buy another truck. You can see the truck. Let's buy another car. They can understand the car takes them from A to B, but not the business. But I think COVID has changed a little bit of that. And it's really helped, I think, manufacturers see that technology can help.
So, Frank, I know you've been GM, different companies over the years, and you probably face the same situation that the GMs now are facing, right? What technology do I use? There's probably a certain level of confusion. I mean, you're in the business, so you understand it. But I mean, what do you think are the common misperceptions?
Yeah, when I was running factories and before I started Opex, my background in manufacturing, I was also a Lean Six Sigma black belt, and in Six Sigma we try to see what we can control, right? Reduce the variation. In Lean, what we are trying to do is to eliminate waste, right? So when we talk about waste, we look not only those that we can see with visible eyes, right? But we see things that we cannot, is invisible, right? So I think things like, for example, if I'm running a production or manufacturing, I want to know the KPI, right? And I want to know where we are, the performance, and so on and so forth. And if I get that report, it's like 5 days later on, I think that's outdated. That's not good for me, right? So when we get into this, I think a lot of companies, they don't really look into this. To them, what is visible, like the robotics, the AGV, and all those kinds of things, right, attract them more. They don't really see into what is not visible to naked eyes. But I think, again, COVID changed that a lot. I think in the Singapore context, there's a lot of push from the government, support, grants, whatever you call it, to try to digitize and digitalize the manufacturing. And I think COVID or the pandemic really accelerated the whole digitalization. So in the past, right, people will say, we've been doing this for many, many years. Business owners will always say this, right? We are making money, we are growing and all things. But I think there's a lot of awareness, and I think the new generation, the younger generation also will look into that and say, why are we still so manual? Why can't we digitalize that? So when the second generation of the business owners come into play, a lot of changes are being started and being executed at the moment. So we are very, I personally very encouraged to see the whole evolutions, and I would say in the past 3 to 4 years, there's kind of revolutions, right, to accelerate the whole digital transformation.
Right. And I mean, this is a generation that's taking over now that is grown out of technology. That's the first thing they learn in school, how to operate a computer, how to operate a cell phone. Most of them are even nannied by technology, the iPads and everything else. And then there is this gap between this generation and the generation before that, where it is about data collection on a book, a ledger. It's pretty much that's about it. And there's a certain perhaps there's even a certain mentality as to like, okay, don't fix what's not broken. It hasn't been broken yet in the last 50 years when I was running it. So why are we fixing it now? It's a very expensive venture. So to that extent, Lorraine, what's your experience with I'm sure you may have come across this kind of a situation, and how does Epicor just kind of mitigate that kind of situation?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of customers as well where the second generation comes in. I think I like the energy that they bring as well and the expectations. But like you say, right, you've got to balance that a bit, because it's not something, ERP is not something like, in a day you get it. But then again, it's no longer what the maybe the old generation thinks, that is a really heavy investment and maybe it's a one-time thing. I spend a lot of time doing this and this about it. It's not. So continuous process improvement is what is very important in ERP as well. So it needs to keep on going. And then again, it cannot take that kind of timeline as well, because you can mention, the second generation or the younger generation is expecting, download a web. I can download an app and I can use it almost immediately, right? So it is actually a lot faster today. So out of the box functionality for manufacturers are very important because it gets things going quickly. So today we're looking at maybe implementation of shorter time frame. I think frankly, we're attest to that, right? His team are also stressed with delivering it faster. Also with good practices, which then ERP vendors are able to provide as well. So that helps. But still, there is that understanding of processes that needs to, what processes, how do you streamline them, how to make it more efficient, that needs to be done. Which technology are you going to adopt? What kind of automation can I do? So a lot of thoughts going into that, and how can you use it for meeting your business objectives? So I'm not going to do a software or implementation for now, the present, right? It's got to also bring you into the future. Yeah. And then how can the software support continuous improvement? So that's also very important as well.
It just kind of adding to your point, Lorraine, and Franklin's points about, KPIs, and then, adding to this whole thing with the next generation to really be competitive, right? You have to be digital. And that's kind of what SCiMon is tackling up front is, it's very, very common. It's a very, very analog process. Is we're trying to, where your company is capturing that the factory level, right? We're trying to capture the early on between, the design engineers and purchasing and the suppliers, right? Get that single source of truth, that data set that's going to push into the Epicor platform early on, right? So it's really just trying to widen that digital adoption across an organization.
I totally agree with you. So we always encourage data-first strategy. So you're taking data from the source and you're using data. And when you took the data from source to where you need it to end up, which is usually data analytics, then you look at you will encourage that streamlined process as well, because you need to move that data from anywhere it starts through the supply chain, right? To the stakeholders, could be the suppliers, your customers, your partners. Yeah. So that's a good point.
I think things can be said about data analytics as well, because data analytics is very important for business growth and the strategy that the company or the business is going to adopt going forward. It's like projecting what is upfront. It's like if you know your customer, what your customer's needs are, the preferences, the demographics, it plays a lot into business development and putting your money where marketing is required, as opposed to a wide range and you're just using a limited resource and trying to spread it out too thin, not getting to where you need to go. And I think that's where businesses might suffer. Frankly, probably you can give us some examples, or you've seen some examples of those kind where, the data is just non-existent, in your contact.
A lot of times, even in the Singapore context, in manufacturing, like it or not, believe it or not, a lot of companies are still are still operating in a manual way. So that is very slow. Data often is not accurate. At the end of the day, because of that situation, you can't make improvement. You're not moving towards data-driven business, right? You're not moving, or you're not making decisions fast enough using data and facts, right? So I think a lot of companies, they suffer because they don't have data, but they don't realize that, right? I think you can pick any examples, right? Whether you have your demand being analyzed, how you respond to demand to your customers. How is your supply base like, right? Which supplier is the biggest? Well, which one is the most important, for example? Which customer is the most important? Do you have data to back it up, right? Do you have the data to analyze? No data, no information, no improvement, right? I think there are a lot of cases in operation, in shop floor, in production, for example, right? How do you make improvement if you don't have data? In manufacturing, we always talk about statistics, for example. How do you do statistical analysis? How do you do statistical process control? If you don't have data, you can collect, you can analyze properly. In the context, if you dig deeper to what we do, manufacturing, they always like to talk about this term, for example, OEE, overall equipment effectiveness, right? I think just now you talk about, manually tracking the data, the chart, or whatever. Yes, Toyota did that, but a lot of companies try to do that, and guess what? They are not updating it regularly. Only when there's VIP customers, prospect come, they will update the whole dashboard, right? Without customers coming in, it's outdated. 2 months have not been updated. What's the use? I always like this term. It's only a Bollywood show, right? So then for what, right? So those are just some examples of how important data is, and I think we are really moving into a digital era. So we have to make use of the digital technology to even collect the data before we even analyze that.
So, Lorraine, you brought up a point earlier on that, every core does not only ERP, but you're offering also a lot more different types of solutions. So to that extent, how does, if you can share with us, like some of the experiences that you will have come across, your team will have come across, where a lot of these companies, or some of these companies, they want to adopt technology, they just don't know which one is it. They're just throwing it out there and maybe even underutilizing the technology that they're getting. So maybe we start with ERP, right? So ERP itself has quite a lot of technologies that it can adopt, so that the tools, the skill sets. But the most important thing that we look at first is usually whatever affects the manufacturers. So this could be the challenges. A lot of times, more of the time, they're priorities. If you look at, we do surveys every year with the manufacturing community. And actually, the one that we did last year was very relevant. Yeah, we did a survey with manufacturing managers to find out, what's happening on the shop floor. So the voice of the manufacturing managers. So among the 5 priorities then, so what kind of priorities do they face, right, on a day-to-day? Quality control, those tops, and then cost management. Production efficiency is another one, and safety and workforce management. These are the top 5. So of course, we first want to address these. So we can have functionality that's ready for quality to help them capture that data, or to flow that into how they can make it their materials more traceable, their products more easily recallable. They can track what goes in and when customers calls up and all that. So all that traceability is important for quality. And then, of course, there's systems that collects the quality data as well. Can we also keep that for them? So at this point, then, quality is one. We could introduce content management, where we could digitalize paperwork, get rid of paperwork, make sure we take the information in through documents. Can we make forms electronic? Can we make approvals? Can we route them for input rather than a physical form going around? So that's one. So content management. And then when it comes to, say, cost management that the manufacturer faced. So that is that detail in there, maybe bill of materials, the operations, and we're capturing all of the cost. So that brings that data up for them more easily to make better decision, right? About how to make their shop floor more efficient. Yeah. And then we will flow through that data, the cost, and then it comes to more financial analytics. So we have maybe financial planning analysis, which is that next level of financials that helps them to do their budgeting, their cash flow, their controls, their budgeting, and of course, maybe the consolidation. I mean, one of talking about datas and human management and stuff of that sort. I mean, personally for me, I used to work with a company, and one of the biggest problems that we faced was that we don't even know how much we're actually making versus how much we're actually spending, because we don't have that data. We were not managing through a system, to collect those data, and it was just a freaking nightmare. Like literally nightmare, just trying to get the supply and the production all going at one time. It is just impossible. It was sleepless nights over that.
But I think this is a journey, right? The whole digital transformation, we know that it's not something that is settled, maturized in 1 year, 2 years. It's a journey itself that takes a long time to do that. Yeah.
This is really both for Franklin and Lorraine. When you're approaching a new potential client, right, new customer, how do you prepare that?
It really depends. Normally we will do, of course, we'll do discovery session, and then depending on situation, we recommend to do assessment first.
Okay.
Now, when we talk about assessment, there are different levels of assessment. It can be very superficial. It can be you deep dive to that. It can be something that takes maybe one day or 2 days. It can take, the longest that we have done is like 5 months, but that's a very big company, right? 5 months to do the whole assessment. But out of the assessment, then we can pinpoint what their as-is process is, what their opportunities for improvements are, what the pain points, challenges they are facing, and then kind of put the roadmap how to achieve the to-be or the blueprint, the to-be processes or situation that they want to have. So that's typically kind of the process we would recommend, right? Because we thought that we have seen cases where they have started digital transformation, and along the way they realize that, am I on the right track or not? So I think it's important to take the first step. You know where you are, you know what you want to have, right? What kind of timeline, what kind of investment, what kind of skill you want to have, what kind of complexity you have. Then from there, you can chart out the plan or the path to be successful in your digital transformation.
I like it too when customers can define their objectives, and put it in on top of operational objectives, right? Like, I want to improve these processes, I want to streamline them. Some business objectives as well. Just the ROI is important.
Right.
The management objectives, investing in that project is important. So it must meet business needs.
So in your opinion and your best experience, what do you think some of these businesses need to, how should they self-assess, at least on the basic level? Like, what is it that they need technologically wise for their business?
There's a wide range of maturity level, right? In the whole world, and if you talk about Southeast Asia, there's even wider maturity level. When we talk about Singapore, right? Everybody thinks that Singapore is first world country, right? Very advanced. In general, yes, right? But when you dig deeper, you will be surprised to find companies that are totally not digital at all, right? I've seen companies, believe it or not, still using fax machine.
Yeah.
Fax machine, right? Still now. Or I have seen companies still using checks. When it is becoming expensive or is being abolished, eliminated, then business owners said, no choice, right? We have to do it. But how do we get there even before that happens, right? So it's instead of being reactive, you're being proactive in how you do business, right? I think there's still a wide range of maturity level, even in Singapore context.
So Franklin or Lorraine, if I'm a GM and I look around and my team is using Excel and WhatsApp and email to run the business, and I'm about a $20 million a year enterprise, I plan to double it the year afterwards. What should I be looking at first?
I think mentioned earlier, really look into that situation in a comprehensive manner, right? Not only case by case, but holistic view, including what your objective, or what your business objective is. Where do you see? How do you want to get? Where do you want to? Where do you want to grow? What do you want to grow? What do you see yourself? How you see yourself 5 years from now? So, for example, we have this methodology that we use called Smart Industry Readiness Index series, right? It's actually founded in Singapore or developed by EDB in Singapore, and now it's being used at the WEF level. One of the factor being assessed is actually what's your business objective 3 or 5 years down the road, right? So if you're saying, oh, I'm happy with $20 million, it's okay to stay there, I don't want to grow, okay, then maybe the digital transformation strategy may be a little bit different from the other company that say, oh, I want to, from 20, I want to grow to 30 million next year, right? Or I want to achieve 100 million in 3 years' time. How do you get there? Do you have your people, process, technology being prepared for that, right? Are you aligning your people and the technology, right? Not that, oh, I want to have AI in my technology roadmap, but my people are still using Excel, right? How do you get there, right? So there's a gap you need to bridge.
And I can imagine that technology does add valuation to the company as a whole. When you have technology, you add value to the company.
Yeah, I mean, because they've already gone through that process of transformation, 1 and 2. Back to Franklin's point, okay, I'm looking at two companies in JB, for example, and this one's old school, this one's new school. The numbers look similar. I'm going to trust the company that has digital. The numbers are clean versus papers. You can easily kind of adjust numbers. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I mean, it's no secret when you do M&A, right? You buy or take over a company. Integration or change management takes a long time, and I've gone through that myself, not once but a couple of times. The whole change management is difficult. So if you are buying a company that is still very much old school, but you want to move fast and you want to deploy the most advanced technology, right? Then there's a big gap you have to bridge, and that is not 1 year kind of thing. It can be a 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or we may fail altogether, right? So would I want to buy that kind of company that is not suitable with my strategy or my mid to long term view for the business?
I think a lot of businesses nowadays are also, if they're talking about M&A, they're kind of expecting that you should have some form of technology there already, wouldn't they? I mean, especially if you're doing a manufacturing type of environment in supply chain, then you better have some technology in place, at least, an ERP, an accounting system, that sort of thing in place. I cannot imagine going into a company looking at M&A and they're looking like, okay, we're buying you up, but you have nothing. Then we still have to go to a warehouse and dig out all your ledgers. Yep. Yeah, I don't think that's really going to work.
And I think in the evaluation, you'd be expecting to sit in a room when looking at data. You're looking at paper. Are you getting information from the system? Can you see that data coming out, just like the BI that we're talking about?
Any final thoughts in terms, based on our discussion about what GMs should be looking for?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at ERP systems, or you should put in a good team. A good team who understands processes. They can look upstream, downstream from their own processes, because you are talking about streamlining this. And like I mentioned earlier, should be looking at continuous improvement to your processes. I think Franklin was right as well. The SCiMon framework is a really good place to start in terms of looking at where and how to automate and that process. But also take it from the best in breed or the top tier that's already gone forward and done quite a bit of this, and their journey, right? That they usually start with digitalizing the processes first, and they start automation in the different parts of the business as well, and then continue to improve that over years. I think that's a good step too. And the objectives, as I mentioned, if you put in your management objectives, then you'll be very mindful to deliver that in the project.
For me, I think just 2 points, Rob and Cap. The first one, I think, digital transformation takes time, and you have to comprehensively, holistically look into the 3 factors: people, process, and technology. So not just buying the technology, but you're not doing anything to train your people, to change the mindset of the people, the skill set of the people. You're not streamlining the process, but look into that holistically. I think that's the first point. I think the second point is that don't just look into technology advances for areas that is visible to the naked eye, right? Again, I think automation is good, but look beyond that visible thing and look into the invisible to the naked eyes.
Digital transformation is everywhere. It's time to digitize your quote process, automate the repetitive tasks, and free up your team to focus on more value-add tasks. Don't let tariffs, travel, and lack of visibility in the global supply chain hold you back any longer.
So I'm going to run the event or the RFQ in any auctions. I click up new event. Here we have quotation sheet. So what I want to show down here is this capability here, the auction. We have the rank, the traffic light, and the price base. This right here just shows the different types of quotations that can happen. This is important because this shows how they can save costs with the software. Now even on traffic light, where you can see range can be added on product sheet above. So you can enter inclusive range or yellow range. I'm gonna do this. Let's say 5 days. Deselect suppliers and create an order. So it's really that simple.
Contact us for a demo and discussion on how SCiMon.co can transform your supply chain today. SCiMon, supply chain simple.
Where business is concerned, it's all about time, money, technology, and data drives all of these. Without the right data, without the right people to gather these datas, businesses are lost. Time's wasted, and business is all about time and money. Time equates to money, exactly. Efficiency.
Yep.
So yeah. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
This has been a very, very interesting talk, and I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more as we move forward.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.